And now we're going to move on to some real live action. Our first heat, the long journey racing-wise, starts here. And pole position for the first heat is Jamie Sharp. This heat, Heat 1, sponsored by Presenta Connect. I'm going to grab a quick word with Jammer Sharp. Jammer, as we know and love him from days gone by. Congratulations on getting pole, mate.
Thank you.
How was is the session that you had, was it wet this morning?
Yeah, it was. It started off quite wet, and then as we progressed, the rain started to come down quite a lot. Started getting a lot of standing water towards the end. I think everybody started to get into the rhythm towards the end as well, though. So we all started to set more laps towards and started to bring the times down at the wrong time. So, yeah.
Does it throw things out much for you when the conditions are beginning to dry up? And miracle of miracles, we got the sun out at the moment. So does that sort of change the mindset and the settings on the car for you?
Well, I wasn't quite expecting sun in this time of year, but I like mixed conditions. I quite like the grease. So if we can try and capitalise this race, and I'm happy with it.
Great to see you on pole position. Is this your third festival?
Yeah, third festival, yeah.
And to get a pole position for the heat, absolutely superb, mate.
Yeah, thank you.
Okay, I'm going to leave you to it, Jamie. Good luck for the race. We're going to have a look at some of the other runners that are here, and the engines might go on, so we might lose a little bit of me. I'm going to see if we can have a word with Chris Middlehurst, who's here. Chris is our national champion. Chris, first of all, many congratulations on winning the championship this year. And P2 in the heats, 4 lots of heats. So first of all, is there an expectation on your shoulders as national champion to come away with the festival win?
I wouldn't say so, no. I mean, at the end of the day, we want to do the best that we can and, of course, win. I was third in 2016, that's the best result, so I want to go better than that. Being in the car all year obviously helps a lot, of course, as well. So just trying to get the car ready now. I think the corner's down there, so making some last minute changes on the car. It's always awkward with these conditions, you have like it's drying out, after it rains you just gotta gamble, so yeah, I'll have to make sure that
I need to let you go, mate. I'm really sorry, but good luck for the race. Thank you, Chris.
Cheers.
Chris Middlehurst there, P2. Apologies for keeping Chris from the track there. He's now, as you say, he's got the engine cowling going on and getting ready to go out to race. But 2 of the front runners just giving you a little bit of an insight as to what it's like. I guess quite a lot of pressure on them going out for the first of 4 heats. Remember, we go from the heats into the semi-finals and then the final. If you don't quite cut it in the heats, we've got the progression race and the last chance race to get through as well. So plenty of action coming up for you. Let's go over to our commentary team, Scott Woodwiss and Andy McEwen.
Genuinely this year, I cannot call it, and that's not me just saying for the purpose of being a good soundbite. I just cannot call it, because there are genuinely across the entry all this weekend 15 to 20 drivers that have a genuine chance of doing what's called without getting a good result. One car's slow off the line away. I think that's possibly Andre Castro, one of our 2 Team USA scholarship drivers for this year. But yeah, the front few rows has got some incredible drivers in here who certainly should be at the front and should be automatically qualifying, bar any dramas. So as the head of the formation lap, I think the time has come now, Andy, for our first grid of the 2021 Formula Ford Festival.
Yeah, let's take a look at it then. So qualifying went the way of Jamie Sharp for this opening heat. Then Jamie was only 11th in the festival last year, but he stuck it on pole position for the first of the heats with, as we've said, Chris Middlehurst late on show, but he did get there eventually to line up second. Jonathan Brown, champion of this event 2 years ago. He is on row 2 alongside Luke Cooper, who's had a real return to form, it would seem, this weekend. Andre Castro's been impressive this season. He lines up 5th with Robbie Barrable, former European and indeed World Rally Championship competitor, lining up on the 3rd row. Andrew Blair and Logan Hanna then make up row number 4 of this 25-car grid, and then rounding out that top 10 is Ian Goff and Nick Gilt, brother to Megan, who will be out in a later heat further on into the afternoon. Alan Davidson and David Parks share row 6 ahead of Dan Rennie Larson and Chris Hodgen, with Daryl DeLeon Taylor, and Rick Morris, a real stalwart of the Formula Ford Festival, down there on 16th place. Ninth row of the grid for James Colborne and Pat Blakeney, another interesting name. There are so many interesting names that we could talk about all day. We'll try and touch upon some of them during the races. Stephen Mahwiney and Henry Campbell just behind on row number 10. Sean Hollenby, former British touring car racer, he's there at 21st on the grid alongside Hayden Hardiman, with Matthew Surma and Richard Earle just behind, and then it's Simon Pruce who rounds out the field. I always like, Scott, to look at the heat grids, and the heat lineups were announced yesterday, who was going to be racing against each other in these 4 heats, and trying to decide which one's going to be the most competitive. Honestly, they're all really competitive.
Yeah.
To your point about how many quick drivers there are this weekend, I don't think there will be a competitive heat. I just think they're all going to be close.
Yeah, absolutely. And at least if you look at the first few rows in the mix, the first few 7 drivers in there, of course, Jamie Sharp, who took a race winner at Anglesey this year, Chris Middlehurst, national champion, Jonathan Brown, 2019 festival winner, Luke Cooper is always someone who's quick in a good Formula Ford. Robert Barrable was on the podium in 2015 when Wayne Boyd won it. And actually, speaking of Wayne Boyd, his car, the car that he won the festival in, is in the hands of Pat Blakeney. That's his car this weekend, the Van Diemen MS13. So, of course, Sean Hollaby and everyone else in the mix. And also, we need to watch out for Andrew Blair, one of the older cars, highest placed older car on the grid, 17th, and it's the 7th on the grid. So, green flag is up. I think it's time to get this Formula Ford Festival underway. The 5-second board is up, and Heat 1, sponsored by Presenta Connect, the 2021 50th Formula Ford Festival, all set to get underway. Sharp on pole, Middlehurst alongside, lights out, and the festival is on. Great start from Jonathan Brown for the second of the grid. Not a great start from Andrew Blair. I picked it up too much. And down the outside, looks like Hayden Hardiman in the Marlborough livery cars to head into Paddock Hill Bend, and Middlehurst sweeps in front initially, gets an undercut from Jamie Sharp, and they turn in through Paddock Hill Bend. One car sweeping around the outside is that's Nick Gilks go around the outside in the Spectrum, but now towards Druids for the first time. Sharp is back into the lead. Brown is up the inside for second place, and Logan Hanna fighting with Luke Cooper, and both of them also under threat from Andre Castro through the first few corners, the first couple of points, and tentatively, I'm going to say, everyone seems to have got through in the first couple of corners just about unscathed.
Yeah, there is usually someone that gets tripped over and ends up in the gravel trap, but not on this occasion. Out of Graham Hill they go then, down the back straight, and side-by-side action further back. But as you said, people keeping their powder dry here in the early stages of what is a 12-lap race. Side-by-side for second place, though, and that was all very, very dicey going up to the top end of the circuit. Chris Middlehurst there getting involved, trying to retain his second position as they come through towards the end of a very slippery, slimy opening lap of the race. However, as you can see, the sun has broken through the clouds finally. It took us until lunchtime, but that has happened, and that will now only accelerate the drying process of the circuit. So hopefully conditions as we go through the afternoon should start to get better. So through we go then at the end of the opening lap, and Scott, look at the lead that Jamie Sharp has built up. Middlehurst second, Jonathan Brown, the champion from this event a couple of years ago, is third, and Luke Cooper, despite having a wayward moment at Druids on lap 1, right with them in fourth.
Yeah, decent stuff from him. Also good start from Robert Barrable into 5th position. So he certainly hasn't forgotten how to drive a Formula Ford. He has been, as you said, quite a prominent rally driver in many cases, and so it was quite an unorthodox route to go from racing a Formula Ford then straight into a rally car. But he has proven quite popular, and his sibling Peter Barrow will also here this weekend in an older chassis as well. So plenty of sort of family affairs this year with different sort of families that are second or third generation still getting involved. So we did the wide through the exit of going through McLaren over to Clearways over the curb. He was under threat there from Jonathan Brown, but also trying to make sure inside is Nick Gilks. He's actually this year's Canadian F1600 champion. That's the equivalent of Formula Ford in Canada, but they run Honda Jazz engines rather than Ford 1600cc engines. So he knows he's cut these chassis very well, being the Canadian F1600 champion. First time racing in the UK, and I'm pretty certain he'll be learning a lot from his sister Megan, who's been racing a Formula Ford all through this season, had a personal best of 4th at Snetterton at the final National Formula Ford rounds. So she's really pumped up for this weekend. Had a great weekend last year as well in the first shot of the festival. But already at the front here, we've got Jamie Sharp, who proved his prominence at Anglesey in these kind of wet conditions when he got his first victory, and that was part of the reverse grid that helped him. But he's pulling away from guys they're waiting for. Oh, I spoke to you soon. He's off at Graham Hill Bend. He's up wide onto the grass. There he is in the foreground. Off onto the grass. He's certainly going to lose first, second, maybe even third. Through goes Brown. Through goes Middlehurst. I'm sure also surely has to go through Luke Cooper. They go down the back straight. Cooper's 2 was onto the grass around the outside at Surtees. Wheel to wheel already. What's his 3?
Oh, no.
There's contact, and off the road goes Cooper. One of the drivers that could have been a great contender for the Presenta Festival victory has hit problems already. He's skating off onto the grass, and that's a nightmare, Andy, because on soaking wet grass like that, it is impossible to get traction. He's going to have an absolute nightmare getting it back on circuit.
Yeah, Jamie Sharp did not want to give that place up, did he? Having lost his momentum with that grassy moment at Graham Hill, he tried to fight it out with Cooper, and you can see why, because he's so fast, he drives around the outside of Chris Middlehurst and clears him before they even get to Paddock Hill Bend. That was super commitment on the brakes, and Jamie Sharp back into P2, but it is the 2019 festival winner, Jonathan Brown, who leads the way. Jamie Sharp immediately latches onto his gearbox as they go through Druids. Jamie just needs to take a deep breath here. He's clearly got the pace to win this heat. He just needs to stay out of trouble. He was half a second quicker, more than half a second quicker than anybody else in qualifying. So Jamie Sharp can pick and choose his moments here. And of course, winning the heat, as nice as it is, there's not a big difference really between finishing first, second or third. It affects your grid position for the semi-final, but finishing second is a lot better than banging wheels with someone and ending up off the road, as just happened to Luke Cooper, who, by the way, rejoined the circuit outside of the top 20 or so, so he's a long way down the order after that clash with Jamie Sharp.
We have to remember, of course, that the top 12 go through automatically. Everyone else will go through into the 2 progression races later on this afternoon. So even the top 6 to go through for them as Jamie Sharp looks for the high, wide and handsome line.
Ooh.
That was for you, Brian Jones. And he almost makes it stick. He gets the undercut because Jonathan Brown went too deep trying to defend it. Couldn't make it stick. And Jamie Sharp, just like that, back into the lead. Like Graham Hill Bend never even happened.
You were saying to me earlier on that BM Racing, who run Jamie Sharp's car, had got a really good dry setup. It ain't dry out there, and he is driving around people. He is so much quicker than those around him, and these are not slow drivers either. You've got the current national champion in Chris Middlehurst, and you've got the winner of this event 2 years ago, and he just drove past them like they were in a completely different class. That car is on rails in really very, very treacherous conditions, and you can see now he's clearing off into the distance, so he doesn't need to push too hard. If he makes another mistake, he might not have the same amount of time to try and recover from it. So it's going to be Sharp then that leads as we come through to the end of what will be the 5th lap of the race. He's got the fastest lap as well. You won't be particularly surprised to hear. Second place goes to Jonathan Brown at the moment, then third for Middlehurst, and then in 4th place Robbie Barrable. So he's having a pretty decent run here from 6th on the grid up into 4th place now, ahead of Andre Castro and Davidson there in 6th place. Up through paddock go the leading 3 then, and they're just starting now to separate slightly.
Yeah, good effort from Andre Castro. First proper time racing in the UK after he made his UK racing debut in the final rounds at Snetterton of a national championship as well. He's one of the 2 selected drivers for the Team USA scholarship, the other one being the man who finished 3rd in the national points, that being Max Esterson, and he actually made one of his first few appearances racing in the UK last year for Low Dempsey Racing. So he liked it so much he came back for a full season, did well, took a couple of victories, and now he's went over back to America, did the Team USA assessment, came up as one of the top 2, and now he's proudly representing one of those famous white and stars and stripes liveried cars that we'll see out on circuit. And Andre doing a fantastic job in P5 himself. We've got the in car number 18, that I think is 18, Alan Davidson. I always bet Alan to do well because Alan's somebody who's in an older car, but he always drives it like it's a newer one. In fact, where he's in the mix, there he is, the older car there, just in 6th position behind Andre Castro. That car, whenever he gets out, usually in Mondiali drives, he is so quick. He's been a former historic festival winner before, and he's such a great driver, and he's always one who literally doesn't care what age the car is. He can go up against the modern cars and drive it as he's been doing. He's been one of these cars for ages.
Yeah, Castro ahead of him is in a 2015 spec Ray, whereas his car is getting on for 2 decades older than that. It is remarkable how quickly he makes it go. But of course the wet conditions a bit of a leveler. It's also not a particularly long circuit, Brands Hatch, so even if you're down a little bit on horsepower, you can sometimes, if you really wrestle the car around, you can make up for that a little bit and stay pretty close to the front running times. You mentioned that it's the top 12 that will automatically progress. Well, at the moment on the bubble then is car number 11. That's David Parks in the Ray, and he has got the 114 of Darryl DeLeon Taylor about 10th or so behind him, so that is the battle we need to watch for automatic possession. Crucially, Luke Cooper, having rejoined down at the back end of the top 20, has only recovered to 16th, so one of the pre-event favourites might not even be guaranteed a semi-final slot.
In terms of where he is in terms of time on track, his gap is currently from that he is, look at the gap now, he's currently about, it's changing all the time, so it's an active gap, so he's currently, look at the moment, he's about 10-20 seconds so behind. Look at the gap. I think he's about roughly sort of 8 seconds back on where Morris is at the moment. Rick Morris, of course, has done countless Formula 4 festivals before. He's in the Royal RP29 that he's driving this weekend, and he's driven that the past couple of seasons and getting on for that as well. Luke is now up to 14th place now, so he's only 2 places away, and if that's right, the gap is right, he's only about 6.5 seconds away from an automatic qualifying spot, so we've still got time to do this. It's a 12 lap heat, and we're currently coming to the completion of lap 9, so he's got time to do this.
That, I think, was Andre Castro going wide, going through Surtees. That just drops him back into the clutches ever so slightly of Alan Davidson behind him. Alan started 11th on the grid and is now challenging for a top 5, but he has a wiggle as well as they go through Clearways and Clark Curve. Tries to use the slipstream, but this is where maybe the more contemporary Ray might have the edge. Davidson, in fairness, stays with him though, and then breaks a little bit later into Paddock Hill Bend. So this 5th place battle ain't over, and a slightly wayward line there for the American driver means that Davidson will maybe look for the run up Halewood Hill. In the end, though, that comes to nothing. back to Luke Cooper momentarily. He's a second and a half a lap quicker than Parks in 12th place, and he was overtaking 2 people actually when he set that lap time. So I do think he'll get back into the top 12, provided he doesn't have any more issues. But of course, another potential stumbling block now for them to contend with is traffic. We do have quite a variety of speed out there as far as the lap times. The fastest drivers, some 6 or 7 seconds quicker than those at the back. So lap traffic could now become a factor.
I think Jamie Sharp's had a spin because he come through past the pits and he's down to 3rd. So I thought I saw there he is there. So that made another mistake, whether it was contact or not. He's on right onto the tail of Chris Middlehurst now as they come up through McLaren and clearways. And again, he's got the car so well sorted. Again, he wasn't kidding when he said the car is so well sorted this weekend from Andy Brickles and BM Racing. He's side by side with the national champion, up into Paddock Hill Bend, up the inside and back into 2nd place. This is like, this is pretty incredible, literally. He's not the Terminator. It doesn't matter what happens to him, he'll always come back and try and battle. He's got a couple laps to go now, 2 more laps to try if he can and re-pass Jonathan Brown, which is not an easy feat given he's a former festival and he's only just there on track in front of him. But Jamie Sharp, certainly, particularly the fact he's come back from 2 spins and is still in 2nd place, genuinely, I certainly couldn't call a favourite. Dare I start picking him out as a potential? He's definitely got the pace to do it.
Well, certainly that's the way things have gone the last couple of years. It's always been a driver that I didn't necessarily pick as a pre-event favourite that's gone through to win. And Jamie, the last time I saw him yesterday evening, he was furious with himself for binning it into the barriers up at Clearways in the final test session. So, yeah, I didn't really have him at the top of my list, to be honest, but the speed he's got in these conditions, and we expect most of the weekend to be wet, although the track may dry out today. Tomorrow is supposed to be even wetter. So, yeah, this could still happen for him. However, winning the heat is certainly not guaranteed because he goes through now onto the 11th lap of the race, 2 laps to go. He was a full second quicker than the leader, but that is why the leader was in traffic, and now it's Jamie's turn to pick his way through. He does so well, but that was a slightly scary moment through Paddock Hill Bend.
Yeah, on the last lap, I think we completed 11 laps onto the final lap of this 12-lap heat. All the heats are 12 laps. Remember, top 12 go through automatically. Everyone else then goes through the 2 progression races, which are later on this afternoon. And from those, it's the top 6 that will go through. For those older cars, which are potentially old, are in one of the 4 super classic classes. I see out the window there is a car which is recovering off the grass that was being lapped, I think. It's getting back on the road. For those cars that are older cars, they still have a chance to go into the historic final tomorrow. But for some of the more modern cars which don't make it through, unfortunately, by the progression race, if they can't make it through there, that may well be their festival over already. That's knockout format. That's how it does work. That's unfortunate. But as we come out through clearways and up through McLaren for the final time, Jamie Sharp is close as quick as he can. It's going to be pretty quickly. I think they're going to get possibly 1 more lap, I think, as they come across the line. So 1 more chance to go past this time by. So Jamie Sharp's actually, I thought it was the last lap, but it's not. It's the lap count on TSL is lap 11 or 12, is lap they're currently on. So Jamie Sharp with the pace he's setting, he's that close on the exit of the corner up towards Drury's now onto the hairpin. There's no reason why he couldn't make a move if Brown doesn't defend this.
I'm just not sure it's worth it, though. He's been off the road twice already. He's had a bit of wheel banging with Luke Cooper. He doesn't need to get involved in fisticuffs with Jonathan Brown, but he closes right in as they go down into Graham Hill Bend. They both take that really wide line, which makes overtaking down there a little bit tricky. There is realistically 1 more place for Jamie to do that, and that is to throw it up the inside at Clearways onto the slippery inside line and make a bit of a block pass on Jonathan. I'm sure Brown will see it coming. They're sideways through Surtees. There's traffic ahead as well. That's the number 4 car of Sean Hollenby that needs to try to stay out of the way. Contact almost between the 2 of them as they get boggled up behind the back marker. That might just have been Jamie Sharp's final opportunity. He's in the slipstream though. Looks to the inside line. Get the photo finish camera ready. It's going to be a real drag race to the finish line. Heat number 1 is won by the 2019 Festival champion Jonathan Brown by just under a 1/10 and a half. That was a brilliant run to the flag. Brown the victor, Sharp second, and Andre Castro is in 3rd place, getting past Chris Middlehurst on the final lap. In fact, I think the final corner, because Middlehurst again was less than a 1/10 and a half behind him at the end of what was, Scott, a truly dramatic opening heat of the weekend. And it's that man again, Jonathan Brown. In the last 7 races that he's done here at the festival, he's only failed to win 1 of them, and that was last year's final, and he was second. He really is a man on form at the moment.
Andy, yeah, thanks very much indeed. A fantastic race to watch, and superb for Jonathan to come through from 3rd on the grid. Jamie Sharp's going to be frustrated, dropping back, coming back, dropping back again, although does get the consolation of the fastest lap. At the moment, we've got the race winners are actually in Parc Ferme. Coming back towards us now is Jonathan Brown, having been through Parc Ferme. So I don't know if you can see on the car, but running the legend of remembering the late, great Brian Jones, high, wide and handsome. How appropriate is that? Photographer's just doing the honours as Jonathan gets out of the car. Let's see if we can go over. Esther is Esther is there ready to present him with the trophy. I'm going to see if we can grab Jonathan before he goes over to get the trophy. Jonathan Brown, many congratulations on the first win, getting the festival underway. We'll get your crash helmet off first, then we can have a proper word with you. Looking very cool, calm and collected, I have to say, which is good. There we go. It's all right, Jonathan. Many congratulations on the win. That's a fantastic way to get the festival underway.
Yeah, no better way really. It's tricky out there. I don't think it definitely wasn't the fastest, but just kept it on the surface, and yeah, brought it home P1.
Jamie came back at you, but then you got back at him, and changeable conditions. Now, this obviously sets up for you to get into the semi-final, but it looks like it's drying out there, and the positions for the semis are based on the faster heats being off the front. So maybe by virtue of being in that first group, you've got more work to do in the semis.
Yeah, I started second last year in the semi and won that one, so I'd like to do the same tomorrow. And yeah, so we'll just enjoy the evening, and yeah, we'll try to get a bit more pace out of this thing and out of myself as well.
As a youngster, it's great to see. I was going to say, as a youngster, what is it to you to come into the festival? Do you feel the sense of history of this event? Obviously, you've got Brian Jones mentioned on the side of your car, which is a lovely tribute, and we thank you for that. But are you aware of the history of the event?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, it's 50 years. It's just crazy to have a single run event for 50 years. So it's been a pleasure to win it, and it boosted my career. So I really want a second one. So yeah, we'll be giving everything to get a second one.
So you get a bit of a breather now before the semis. You can sit and watch the progression races and see those that weren't lucky enough to get through.
Yeah, well, kick the feet up and watch the next 3 heats, and then yeah, go from there.
Jonathan, well done on the win. Thanks. We'll let you get your trophy from Esther Crook. That's Jonathan Brown, who took the win. I'm going to see if we can grab. Oh, I'm going to be run over, so I'm just going to move momentarily out of the way because Chris Middlehurst's car is back towards us. And actually, I'll grab a quick word with Chris because he's here. Chris, thank you very much. Well done. So good race.
Yeah, we struggled really with the setup. It went dry, you know, and obviously it really maintained the conditions there, the wet track. So we gambled the wrong way. So I just sort of brought the car home. Really, it was really tricky because we were pretty much on, you know, well, not virtually dry, but going towards dry settings. So they're bad enough as they are with the wet setup on, never mind drier. So yeah, pleased to come third. I think I was third, but I got a feeling the American may have picked me across the line there.
It showed it on the timing. We weren't sure when you rolled into Parc Ferme, but you're here, so we wanted a quick chat.
I'll take third. Yeah,
that's great. And at least you don't have to worry about going into the progression races, so you know that you're in the semis.
There is that, which makes it a little bit harder, you know. But who knows what tomorrow brings weather-wise, and races, anything can happen. You know, people can crash off. You saw Sharp go off there twice. So yeah, just lost a bit of ground with the back markers as well, but just hanging on for dear life, to be honest with you, with the setup. So
it's what Formula Ford's all about. It's wonderful stuff. Well done. Look forward to seeing you tomorrow.
Thank you.
Thank you, Chris Middlehurst there.